Class, let us begin our lesson. Today, we'll be looking at section 5, 7, and 5, 8 about solving them equations with fractions, and it takes place on these 2 pages. Let's just dig right into the meat of the problems and begin. Get our hands dirty. Alright, right here for example 1, we've got an x minus 3/4 is equal to 7/12. Now, in this section, we're going to be taking, once again, 2 concepts we've already learned. How to add and subtract with fractions, and how to solve an equation. We're going to take the 2 ideas and put them together. Let's see if we can make some magic. Alright, if this was a normal equation, you would know what to do. If this was just a number here, you would know I need to add to get rid of it. Just because it's a fraction doesn't change that. So we are going to add to get rid of it. So we need to add the same number that it's subtracting in order to cancel it out. So we're going to add 3/4. If they take away 3/4, we add 3/4. It undoes what they're doing. Ha ha ha. But because it's an equation, we must keep this balanced, so we have to add 3/4 over here as well. This would get us x, whatever x is, we don't know yet. We're going to need some room over here to use for kind of scratch work to do because we got to do these fractions first. So it might be helpful to write it out as 7/12 plus 3/4. I like to write it like that. And then I say, well, I can't add them as is. I need a common denominator. So I find a common denominator of 12. So meaning the first fraction does not change. So we have 7/12 plus, well, this would change to a 12. What does the top have to change to? It would change to 9. We add these together. What do we get? We end up with 16/12. Now, 16/12, we cannot leave it simply as 16/12. So we end up by, you got different options. You could reduce first and then turn to mixed number, or mixed number then reduce. I'm going to mixed number convert first. So I would get 1 and 4/12, okay? This would convert to 1 and 1/3 because 4 goes into 4 one time and it goes into 12 3 times, so you get 1/3, 1 and 1/3. So our answer is that x is equal to 1 and 1/3. Go ahead and box that in nice and neatly so everything's inside there and we can find it easily, okay? So notice you will have, this is still a one-step equation, but because of the nature of fractions, you're going to want to go over here and work it out, because I doubt anyone here in their head could have worked this out smoothly. And even if there's a student out there that can, you're not guaranteed to do that 100% of the time. Much better to write down. You're less likely to make a mistake, and if you do make a mistake, you know, it can be pointed out to you by a friend who's helping you, or by me when you're in class, or by a parent. So make sure you are working the material out. Okay, next we have x plus 1 and 1/4 is equal to 4 and 3/4. So here we're going to subtract. We got to subtract because it says add. We subtract. Okay, we subtract. So you get x is equal to, we're going to go over here. We have 4 and 3/4 minus 1 and 1/4. Remember, when we have fractions involved, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to turn it to improper. Now, some of you might say, well, can't we just subtract like we do with adding the whole numbers? And that, like I said, it does work some of the time, but sometimes it doesn't. And until you're to the point where you can honestly tell me when it works and when it doesn't, I'm not comfortable with you doing it any other way, okay? So, you know, for those of you that eventually can learn to tell when it's okay to use it this way and when it's okay to do the second way, I'd much rather you just do it this way. So we convert to improper, we say multiply that, add that, we end up with 19/4 minus 5/4. So you end up with 14 over 4, which we convert back to 3 2/4, which reduces to 3 1/2. And you can write this over here where you get 3 1/2. Okay? All right, there you go. That's what you get right there. Next, we have a problem that has, it looks like multiplication, and it is. It says 5x is equal to 2/9. Now, I want to point out something, that if we solve this the way we normally solve it, by dividing by 5, this is going to get a little messy looking. Because what you're going to do is if you put a divide by 5 underneath this and a divide by 5 underneath this, isn't this over here going to look weird? You're going to have a 2 divided by 9 and then that whole thing is then divided by 5. That just looks weird. So here's what we're going to do instead. Instead of dividing, you are allowed to multiply by the reciprocal of something. And that is like almost like the go-to thing you need to do with fractions. If you ever have to divide and fractions are involved, you're better off multiplying by the reciprocal, which you guys should remember that. That's what we did when we had to divide with those fractions. We just converted it to multiplication, used the reciprocal. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to end up copying this down a second time. So here's the original. Copy it down again right here, okay? It'll just make things easier. So you have 5x is equal to 2/9, okay? And now we're going to put times 1/5 times 1/5, okay? See how I'm multiplying this? If you were to multiply these, you would see they would cancel out to 1, and then 1 times x is x. And if you want to do the math, you decide you can. But some of you, I think, already know that 1/5 times 5 is going to cancel. This cancels out. So we're left with x is equal to, what's 2/9 times 1/5? Well, that would be 2 45ths. 2 45ths. There you go, and that's the answer. Works out kind of nicer. So you see, each of these has their own little tricks or steps to them. They're all a little bit different, but we all just need to make sure we're doing them, especially when fractions are involved. They can make things a little complicated. But guess what? We're further along in the year than we were, so the things should become more complicated. It should help to push our minds to understand more things. All right, last problem. Once again, dividing with a decimal is going to get messy, so we don't want to have to divide by that decimal. I know it says, it's because they're touching, it says multiply. You got 4/5 times x. In the past, we would have used dividing to get rid of it. But remember, dividing with fractions, nasty stuff. So we are going to multiply. So copy the whole thing down again. Just so in your notes, when you look back at this, if you didn't copy this whole thing down again, you're going to look back and think, what did I do here? It will make almost no sense at all. So you see, you copied, write down the reciprocal times the reciprocal. You see, these things cancel out, leaving you with just x is equal to, and you can actually cross-reduce right here if you want, cross-reduce that to a 1, to a 2, so you end up with 3/8, and that is our final answer. We are done. Woohoo! We are done. We are done. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I hope you had a wonderful time, class. And, if you've got any questions, just to write them down. And, well, some of you have already turned the video off already because we're done. Well, goodbye.